After being married to Mandy for 3 years, Vincent suddenly got an invitation to her wedding. He was totally shocked, thinking it was some kind of prank at first. But the invitation came from his nephew Oliver, and the groom on it was also Oliver. Vincent felt like something was pressing down on his chest, confused and anxious. He immediately flew overseas, following the address on the invite, and sure enough, there was a wedding going on. Mandy was there, holding Oliver's waist, and they were happily toasting with the guests. Time seemed to stop for a moment, and Vincent even wondered if he was seeing things. Maybe this woman just looked a lot like his wife Mandy? But when the fireworks lit up the sky spelling out congratulations to Mandy and Oliver in blue, his last bit of hope shattered. Vincent's mind went blank. A high-pitched ringing filled his ears, and his stomach turned. He felt physically sick and ran to the bathroom to throw up. Just then, Mandy and her bridesmaids came into the bathroom. With a wall between them, Vincent overheard the bridesmaids joking. "Mandy, you really pulled a genius move here. Marry Vincent back home, marry Oliver abroad. You got it all, 2 marriages and all the respect. Who says you can't have it both ways?" "Mandy does. But I seem to remember it was always that kid Oliver chasing after Mandy, and she was never interested," one of them commented. Mandy's eyes darkened. She replied, "At first, I really didn't care about Oliver. He was just a kid to me. But during those 2 years I was sick, Oliver took care of me. No matter how much I yelled, hit him, or told him to leave, he stayed by my side. His love was so sincere that even I couldn't ignore it forever." On the other side of the wall, Vincent was in tears. They'd been together since 3 years ago. Mandy and Vincent were childhood sweethearts. She'd always been possessive of Vincent, even beating up girls who got too close to him at school. But she was always gentle with Vincent. On Vincent's 18th birthday, she lit thousands of river lanterns to confess her love. "Vincent, be my boyfriend. No is not an option. If you say no, I'll drag you home myself." On his 22nd birthday, she sent thousands of sky lanterns into the night, each one bearing a handwritten wish. "Vincent, let's get married." Her proposals were never really proposals. They were statements, non-negotiable. Vincent had been under her protection his whole life and never thought to refuse. He loved her boldness and gentleness. But soon after their wedding, Mandy was in a terrible car accident orchestrated by someone with a grudge. It left her legs paralyzed. The once unstoppable woman became frail and weak. Mandy couldn't handle the drastic change. She grew irritable, even suicidal, tormenting herself until she was unrecognizable in just a few months. "Vincent, I'm a wreck now," Mandy told him. "I don't deserve to be with you, but I can't stand the thought of you with someone else. It'd drive me crazy. A divorce I've signed, Vincent. But as long as I'm alive, I can't let you go. You'd be free if I were dead." Vincent wouldn't hear of it. He loved Mandy, illness or not. But at her wit's end, Mandy just wanted to die. Nothing Vincent said or did could change her mind. Then Vincent's mentor invited him to participate in a research project for a drug that could potentially repair nerve cells. Mandy's health issues stemmed from damaged nerves, so Vincent hoped the drug could get her walking again. Seeing this as a sliver of hope, Vincent accepted the offer. The research group was located overseas. Mandy couldn't take the thought of Vincent being far away, so she had a heart-shaped necklace made of pure gold. It had a tiny camera inside. "Vincent, I'm sick," Mandy told him, "but I have to keep control. If I can't see you, I'll lose it. You're everything to me." Vincent understood her need for control, so he wore the necklace and went abroad. 2 years later, Vincent returned home with the new drug. It worked wonders, and after some rehab, Mandy got her health back. Vincent cried tears of joy, thinking he had saved his marriage, that the Mandy he knew had returned to him. But he never imagined that, in those 2 years away, his own nephew would step in and take everything that was his. Vincent felt like a fool, oblivious to it all, even inviting Oliver to stay at their home often. Tears streamed down Vincent's face as he snapped back to reality, and he heard Mandy's cold voice command, "This must never get back to Vincent. Keep your mouth shut. If anyone spills, they'll have me to answer to." The bridesmaids laughed and said, "Don't worry, Mandy, we wouldn't dare. We all know Vincent's temper." He's not one to overlook things. If he finds out about you and Oliver, he'd leave you for sure, and then we'd be in big trouble. Vincent just chuckled and wandered off from the wedding reception, feeling dazed. He flew home in a fog, caught between dreams and reality, everything seeming surreal. Once he got home, Vincent took out a divorce agreement from the safe. Mandy had signed it herself when she was ill, though Vincent hadn't added his signature back then. Now he signed his name without hesitation. Mandy, I never thought we'd be defeated by something other than your illness. Just 2 years of being apart. You said Oliver never left your side. But what about me? What about all those days and nights I spent in the desert, under your watch, extracting drugs and doing research for you? If you can't be loyal, then I don't want you. After signing the divorce papers, Vincent called his mentor. Professor, I've changed my mind, Vincent said. I'm willing to rejoin the research group and go to the Atlantic to develop new drugs. Really? That's fantastic. His mentor was thrilled. The research team leaves for the Atlantic in 10 days. The military will pick you up. But I have to warn you, this drug development is a confidential national project. Once you join, it'll be like you vanish from the world. Is your wife okay with that? She's so controlling. Vincent grimly chuckled. It doesn't matter. She's got a new husband now. I won't be her caged bird anymore. I used to want her to control me because I loved her, but now that love is gone. She tore it apart herself. After hanging up, Vincent numbly began packing. But he hadn't finished before Mandy came home. Vincent, why did you take out the suitcase? Going somewhere far? Mandy frowned. Where are you going? Why didn't you report to me first? I've been gone for just a week on a business trip, and you already plan to leave without telling me? Vincent lowered his eyes. Do I not even have the right to go out? Of course not, Mandy softened her tone. I'm just worried about your safety. I've made a lot of enemies since I took over, for being ruthless. If you want to travel, I can go with you. Vincent, you're everything to me. I can't stand having you out of my sight. Vincent didn't say a word, but he thought to himself, too bad. Because in 10 days I'll be gone from your world for good. I just got back from a business trip, so you're not going anywhere. Mandy took his suitcase, then kissed him softly. I have a surprise for you in the rose garden. Every time Mandy came back from a trip, she'd bring Vincent gifts. She'd hide them around the house, watching him with fond eyes as he hunted for them. A game they used to love. Vincent used to eagerly await her return. But now there's someone else in the rose garden. Uncle. Oliver rushed over, grabbing Vincent's arm. Aunt told me to come. She said she got me a gift too while she was on her trip, hidden in the rose garden. Come on, Uncle, let's go treasure hunting together, Oliver said excitedly. Let's see what Aunt got us. What used to be a game for just Vincent and Mandy now included Oliver, and Vincent's face showed his discomfort. Noticing this, Mandy gently coaxed, Vincent, don't be so petty. I missed Oliver's birthday yesterday, so I thought of getting him something today. Oliver just turned 18 yesterday, and Mandy couldn't wait to plan a treasure hunt for him. Vincent felt a wave of sadness. What once was a beloved game now seemed dull. In the end, Oliver found a pile of gifts, while Vincent only found a watch with a blood-red diamond. You're the best at finding things. Mandy's eyes held an unending tenderness for Vincent. Even though it's just one, it's the most precious. Jealousy flashed in Oliver's eyes. He pouted and whispered, Aunt, I want it too. I can give all my gifts to Uncle. Would you let me have that one? Vincent said nothing, quietly looking at Mandy. 3 years of marriage, he wanted to know his worth in her heart compared to Oliver. Mandy looked troubled, but after a moment she handed the watch to Oliver. Vincent, we're celebrating Oliver's birthday today. Let him have it. If you like, I'll buy you a prettier one another day. Feeling his heart sink, Vincent couldn't stay calm. He shrugged Mandy off and walked away. I only want something unique. If you've given it to someone else, then I don't want it. Mandy, you're the same. You should belong solely to me. If you also belong to someone else, then I don't want you. That night, Vincent received a new gift from Mandy. But he was already done. Without looking, he tossed the gift into the pool. Unexpectedly, as the gift sank, Oliver dove in after it. He looked like he wanted to fish it out, but the pool water was clear, and the gift was big and obvious. If he really wanted to, he could have fished it out in a few minutes. Yet Oliver stayed in the pool for almost half an hour. It was only when Mandy came downstairs that he finally got out, dripping wet. "Uncle, please don't be mad. Okay?" Oliver said, holding the gift he just retrieved, looking appeasingly at Vincent. "The gift Aunt gave me yesterday, I don't want it anymore. Both are for you, just stop being mad at Aunt." Oliver was soaked to the bone. Mandy's face turned terrifyingly serious as she dashed downstairs, quickly grabbing a blanket from the couch and wrapping it around Oliver. "Are you crazy? Jumping into the pool while you're sick?" Mandy scolded, her face grim. "You've always been afraid of cold water. Can't be in cold water." Oliver looked pale, his face weak as he collapsed into Mandy's arms, then choked up. "Aunt, don't scold me. I just didn't want Uncle to fight with you. I don't like seeing you frown. I want you to be happy." Mandy's dark eyes instantly filled with distress. Her gaze towards Vincent also carried a hint of reproach. "Vincent, enough with the jealousy. Oliver is just a kid. Stop competing with him." With that, Mandy took Oliver straight to the hospital, leaving Vincent standing there, his body shaking uncontrollably. She kept saying Oliver was just a kid, but she knew his situation well, and that he was afraid of the cold. Vincent suddenly remembered how Mandy always knew his habits accurately in the past. Now she only cared about Oliver. In his agony, that kind of care wasn't there anymore. Mandy's arms now held someone else. His love for her was never unique. His stomach hurt more and more, and like a wounded animal, Vincent curled up on the bed with a blanket. Cold sweat poured from him as he drifted off to sleep through the pain. Not long after he fell asleep, there was a sudden commotion outside. Vincent struggled to open his eyes and heard someone yelling outside, "Fire! The rose garden is on fire. Go put it out." The roses in the garden were all planted by Mandy herself. Hundreds of acres, tens of thousands of roses. Each one was a love letter from Mandy to Vincent. "Vincent, roses represent love, but store-bought ones are too cheap. They can't represent my love for you," Mandy had said. "So, I built this rose garden for you. Every day I'll give you roses I grew." Now the garden was mysteriously on fire, and Vincent couldn't help but feel his heart tighten. He threw on a coat, and with shaky steps, tried to go out and see what was happening. But the moment he stepped out, a rushing servant bumped into him, and he tumbled down the stairs. When he came to, Vincent found himself lying in a hospital. Mandy was by his bedside, her dark eyes bloodshot, her expression a bit scary. "Vincent, you're awake?" Mandy's expression eased slightly once she saw Vincent was awake. She grabbed his hand, her face full of worry. "You fell down the stairs and hit your head. How do you feel now? Are you dizzy?" Vincent shook his head and softly said, "I remember the rose garden was on fire." Mandy's face turned grim again. She hugged Vincent and kissed him gently. "It's okay. If it's burned, it's burned. If you want, I'll build you another. Vincent, if anything ever happened to you, I'd die with you." She was saying these while holding Vincent's hand tenderly. Just then, there was a sound of a cup dropping at the door. Oliver stood outside with red-rimmed eyes, a broken cup at his feet, looking deeply wronged. He had heard everything Mandy just said. Mandy's face turned pale instantly, but before she could explain, Oliver covered his face and ran off crying. Mandy instinctively wanted to chase after him, but seeing Vincent's cold eyes, she stopped. "Kid," Mandy laughed. "Forget him, Vincent. You are the most important in my heart." In the following days, Mandy refused to leave Vincent's side. She dropped all her work to take care of him meticulously. She fed him, applied his medicine, cleaned him, and even accompanied him to the bathroom. She didn't allow him out of her sight for even a second. Then news came that Oliver was missing. He hadn't been home for a whole week. Oliver's father, weary-looking, asked, "Mandy, haven't you seen Oliver recently? Where on earth has the boy gone?" Mandy's face turned terrifyingly grim. She immediately gathered all her people and started combing the world to find Oliver. Vincent watched her frantic search with a quiet detachment. There was not a ripple of emotion in his eyes, because he was completely disappointed in Mandy. Nothing Mandy did mattered to him anymore. Mandy, wielding immense power, found the lost Oliver in just one day. Oliver cautiously glanced at Vincent, then choked out. Uncle said I was being unruly, seducing aunt, so he sent people to take me to a place to learn manners. Mandy exuded a terrifying aura, glaring icily at Vincent. One look from her seemed to silence everyone. Vincent, grow up. Oliver is just a kid. What kind of place is that learning manners place? It's a place of torment. Oliver was electrocuted and whipped there. He almost died. She didn't even ask Vincent. She just went ahead and assumed he was guilty. In the past, Vincent would have been completely devastated by this. But now he doesn't care anymore. It wasn't me, Vincent said calmly. Whether you believe it or not, I'm tired. I just want to rest. After saying that, Vincent lay back down, leaving Mandy with nothing but his cold but stubborn back. Mandy's dark eyes showed a flicker of emotion, but before she could say anything, Oliver suddenly clung to her with a look of panic. I'm scared. They said I'm a problem child and want to punish me. Mandy immediately looked at Oliver with a face full of concern. Don't be scared, sweetie. As long as I'm here, no one will harm you. Vincent closed his eyes. He didn't want to see, hear, or think about anything anymore. By tomorrow, he'd be gone. When it came to Mandy, all he could say was goodbye forever. But that night, someone broke into Vincent's room. Before Vincent could call for help, the intruder knocked him out with a sedative and covered his head with a black cloth. They efficiently tied him up and took him away. When Vincent regained consciousness, he found himself with his hands and feet tied, a black cloth over his head, and his mouth taped shut with multiple layers. What's going on? Vincent was completely dazed. Was he kidnapped? By who? One of Mandy's enemies, maybe? While he was still bewildered, Mandy's icy voice came from above his head. Oliver, is this the instructor who abused you over there? Why is his head covered? Take it off, I want to see who has the guts to mess with my man. As soon as she finished her sentence, Oliver looked terrified. No, don't take off his cover. He choked up, I'm scared. This instructor tortured me for an entire week. I have psychological scars. Seeing his face terrifies me. All right, then we won't take it off, Mandy comforted sweetly. Don't cry, sweetie. I'll make sure you get justice. Listening to their conversation, Vincent finally understood. It was all part of Oliver's performance. His kidnapping had to be orchestrated by Oliver, a setup to have Mandy torture him herself. Vincent was stunned with cold sweat. Mandy's methods of torment were terrifyingly brutal. Falling into her hands, death would be a relief. He struggled hard, trying to make some noise to let Mandy recognize him. But his mouth was sealed too tightly to make a sound. During his struggle, Mandy calmly walked over and ordered someone to fix Vincent's right hand onto the table. Smiling, she picked up a hammer. So this is the hand you used to whip Oliver? Mandy's voice was laced with a smile. But the next second, she raised the hammer and smashed Vincent's pinky finger. The pain was so intense it almost made Vincent black out. But it wasn't over. Mandy took the hammer again and casually smashed Vincent's ring finger. Once, that finger bore the ring they pledged with. Now, she broke it with a hammer. The excruciating pain made Vincent's vision go black. But in that moment, passing out seemed like a luxury. He hadn't been unconscious for more than 2 seconds before chilly water was poured on him to wake him up. Don't pass out, Mandy laughed softly, her voice chilling yet captivating. The night's still young. Let's enjoy ourselves. Vincent had never known a night could feel this torturously long. The hand he used for experiments, Mandy personally used a hammer to crush every single finger into fractures. When the pain finally numbed, his heart felt hollow, left only with despair. However, Mandy wasn't about to let him off so easily. Noticing his weakened sensation to pain, Mandy smiled and had her men fetch 2 vials of medication. These are used by CIA interrogators for suspects. Mandy's voice was like a ghost. They amplify pain 100-fold and ensure you stay conscious regardless of the pain. After speaking, she injected both doses into Vincent's body. Immediately, His sense of physical pain was amplified hundreds of times over, overwhelming him. Vincent was tortured to the brink of madness. Desperately, he struggled with all his remaining strength. But he was too weak from the torture. The struggle was futile. Mandy's men pinned him down, forcibly tearing his clothes and prying his legs apart. Vincent had cried until he almost ran dry, yet he couldn't make a sound. Other than Vincent and Oliver, "I don't touch men's lower bodies." Mandy said coldly, "You'll handle the surgery." That said, she handed a knife and thread to her assistant. Oliver pretended to protest, "Maybe we should stop. I heard this instructor is Uncle's friend. He'd be really mad if he found out how cruel you're treating his friend." "Vincent doesn't need friends." Mandy coldly replied, "He only needs me." The surgery began. Red-hot steel needles seared by flame pierced through Vincent's flesh. Even though Vincent was weak to the point of immobility, the pain was intensely clear. He couldn't scream or call for help, breaking down repeatedly in despair. 28 stitches. 28 full stitches. Not even in the lowest pits of hell would you suffer like this. Yet Vincent's suffering wasn't from hell. It came from the person he loved most in the world. After being tortured the whole night, the next morning Vincent was discarded on the street like a rag doll. The ropes around his wrists were finally untied, and he struggled to get up, shakily removing his blindfold. Just then, his mentor called, asking him to send his location. The state would dispatch special forces to pick him up and bring him to the ship. All the fingers on Vincent's right hand were shattered, leaving them immobile. With difficulty, he used his left hand to send his location to the mentor. Soon, an off-road vehicle pulled up, and a few Special Forces soldiers jumped out. Seeing Vincent's condition, even the seasoned soldiers were taken aback. "Vincent, what happened? How did you get hurt like this?" Vincent shook his head, not wanting to explain further. "Just get me to the base. When I reach the base, I want you to erase all my information. I'm dedicating the rest of my life to research. I'm not coming back. Ever." The soldiers helped Vincent into the vehicle. As soon as he got in, he received a text from Mandy. "Vincent, please don't be mad. If you suspect there's something between Oliver and me, I'll send him abroad tomorrow and never see him again. You mean more to me than anything. I love you more than anything." Looking at the text, Vincent's hands began to tremble. He suddenly remembered the last time he left with the research group. Mandy had kissed the golden heart-shaped necklace with a mini camera on his neck and said with an obsessive, unhealthy tone, "Vincent, you're mine. Don't even think about running. You can't escape my grasp." Back then, Vincent had willingly worn that necklace, choosing to be under her control, choosing to be hers. But now, he took off the necklace and asked the soldiers to send it back to Mandy. Without the necklace, he felt a sense of relief, the breeze coming through the car window gently brushing against his face. He closed his eyes, savoring the newfound freedom. "Mandy, I could always fly away. It was never your grasp that held me back. My love for you was the chain. But now, I don't love you anymore. You'll never find me again." After getting back at Oliver, Mandy wanted to rush home to care for Vincent. His recent aloofness had left her uneasy, making her feel like she was losing her grip on him. This feeling nearly drove Mandy crazy, given her almost pathological possessiveness and control over Vincent. She wouldn't allow him to slip out of her control. Seeing how anxious Mandy was, a flash of jealousy crossed Oliver's eyes. He threw himself into her arms, pleading with tears in his eyes, "Are you leaving me again? Please don't go. I know you care about your uncle, but I'm your husband, and after all the abuse, I'm mentally scarred. I can't sleep at night without you. I'm not trying to compete with your uncle, but can you stay with me a bit longer? I really need you right now." Mandy's heart softened. "Okay, I'll stay with you a bit longer," Mandy said softly. "Be good, and don't resent your uncle. He's just hostile towards you because he loves me so much." As she said this, she paused slightly before continuing. "Vincent's hostility, has he sensed something? Staying here is too risky for you. I'll arrange for you to go abroad soon. Avoid meeting Vincent. It'll be better for you both." Without much thought, Mandy took out her phone and called the head of the villa's guards. The call quickly connected, and Mandy, with a dark expression and an intimidating aura, demanded, "Why are all the guards gone? You better have a good explanation, or you'll pay the price." "Mandy, weren't you the one who gave us the month off?" The guard's head replied, bewildered. "I never sent you guys on leave." Mandy was furious. "A week ago," he answered respectfully. "You sent a message saying you were going on vacation with Mr. to give us and the house staff a month's leave." As he spoke, he sent Mandy a screenshot of the message she supposedly sent. When Mandy saw the screenshot, she was stunned. She never gave any leave. The message wasn't from her. The message wasn't from me. Mandy raged. "A big decision like this, and you didn't call to confirm with me?" "I did," the head replied, feeling wronged. "I called you, but you weren't available." Oliver answered and confirmed it several times, telling us to leave that night. It was all part of Oliver's scheme. The guards had secured the villa tightly. Without dealing with them, the kidnappers he hired couldn't abduct Vincent. So, he secretly used Mandy's phone to send a fake leave message to the head of the guards to dismiss them. Then he arranged for people to infiltrate the villa to kidnap Vincent. After executing his plan, he deleted all chat and call records, leaving Mandy unaware of everything. A week had passed since Vincent's abduction, and Mandy finally glimpsed the tip of the iceberg. "Get back here immediately." Mandy couldn't contain her towering anger. "And grab Oliver from the suburban villa on your way back." Soon, the head of the guards returned to the villa with his team, bringing along a pajama-clad Oliver. Mandy's face looked terrifying, and the tense atmosphere filled the entire villa. She glared at Oliver, her eyes as sharp as knives. "Explain. Why did you take my phone and secretly text Sam to have all the guards leave?" "Auntie, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean." Oliver feigned innocence. "I didn't text him or ask him to take the guards away." "Don't pretend with me. Do you know that Vincent is missing? He's been kidnapped." As the guards brought Oliver in, Mandy checked the house's surveillance footage. The footage captured the whole kidnapping of Vincent. Watching Vincent being taken away was so heartbreaking for Mandy that she could hardly breathe. She wished she could go back in time to save the love of her life. But she couldn't go back. All she could do was watch Vincent being kidnapped on the screen, helpless. In a furious outburst, Mandy grabbed Oliver by the throat, her eyes bloodshot. "Speak. Did you conspire with my enemies to plan all this? Who's your accomplice? Who kidnapped Vincent?" Tears streaming, Oliver protested. "I didn't. I really didn't. Vincent is your love. How could I team up with outsiders to kidnap my own uncle? You have to believe me. I didn't touch your phone, and I never received a call from Sam. He's framing me. He's the traitor, working with outsiders to kidnap Uncle." That was plausible since Sam's actions were already suspicious. He did order all the guards to leave. Mandy released Oliver, her face flickering with uncertainty, teetering on the edge of explosion. At that tense moment, the doorbell rang. A soldier entered, carrying 2 folders. "Is Ms. Mandy here?" The soldier asked. "I have 2 classified documents that must be personally signed for by you." Given that Mandy's family had considerable influence and connections with the military, she forced down her anger and went to sign the documents with a stern look. After signing, she opened the folders and froze. One folder contained the golden heart-shaped pendant she had given Vincent, and the other contained a divorce certificate. Vincent had personally handed in the signed divorce agreement to the registry office half a month ago, and now the divorce certificate was processed. Since Vincent was performing a national secret mission, the military collected his certificate directly once it was ready. Vincent kept his copy of the divorce certificate and asked the military to deliver Mandy's. "Just make sure she gets it," Vincent instructed. "Don't mention anything about me. I don't want to see her or have any connection with her anymore." When Vincent entered the base, all information about him was erased from the outside world. The divorce certificate meant nothing now. But Vincent wanted a complete break from Mandy. He didn't want to see her again or even be her husband in name. So he officially decided to have the military send Mandy the divorce certificate. Their marriage ended, and they were entirely done with each other. Seeing the divorce certificate, Mandy couldn't believe her eyes. She grabbed the delivering soldier and furiously asked, "What's with this divorce certificate? When did Vincent and I get divorced? Who gave this to you? Where is Vincent now? How can you process this without our consent? We're not divorced. We'll never be divorced. Only death can separate Vincent and me, not divorce." But no matter how much Mandy yelled, the soldier repeated the same line. "I'm sorry. I'm only here to deliver the documents. I don't know anything else." Mandy couldn't get any answers, so she resorted to smashing things in fury. After nearly trashing the entire living room, she finally calmed down and looked at the second document the soldier brought. It contained the golden heart-shaped necklace she had given Vincent. Inside the necklace, she had hidden a pinhole camera. This pinhole camera was her eyes, allowing her to keep Vincent under constant watch. Perhaps the camera held the answers to everything. "Someone, bring me a projector," Mandy commanded harshly. She was determined to see what the camera had captured and understand how Vincent disappeared and where the divorce certificate came from. Quickly, the guards brought over a projector, and Mandy ordered them to display the footage from the camera on it. As the footage started playing, Mandy saw Vincent being kidnapped that night. Her heart tightened. Although she had already seen it once on the home surveillance, the sight still made her furious. She wished she could enter the screen and tear apart the lowlifes who kidnapped Vincent. But soon, things on the screen took an unexpected turn. Mandy watched as the kidnappers covered Vincent's head with a black hood and brought him before her. At this moment, Mandy finally saw the kidnappers' faces clearly. They were Oliver's bodyguards. Just what had he done? In that moment, Mandy felt her entire world collapse, unable to imagine the despair Vincent must have felt that night. In the middle of a meltdown, Sam, standing nearby, cryptically comforted her. "Mandy, don't blame yourself too much. You were misled by a villain, which is why you tormented the young master. It's not your fault." While saying misled by a villain, Sam gave Oliver a pointed glance. Oliver had accused her of being a traitor, so naturally, she wanted to get back at him. Her words successfully snapped Mandy out of her misery, and with reddened eyes, she glared daggers at Oliver. With just one look, Oliver got so scared he dropped to his knees. "It wasn't me. I don't know anything," Oliver pleaded, trying to play dumb as tears ran down his face. "I was framed. Someone must have paid off my bodyguards and got them to do this." But this time, no matter what he said, Mandy wouldn't buy it. Mandy's expression turned cold as she slowly approached Oliver, wielding the iron rod Sam just handed to her. "Bastard! I treated you so well, and this is how you repay me?" Without a hint of mercy, Mandy swung the iron rod down on Oliver. "Vincent is everything to me. I've never let anyone as much as lay a finger on him. Yet you had the audacity to use such a vile plan to have me hurt Vincent myself. I would rather break 5 of my own fingers than let Vincent get injured." As Mandy angrily cursed, she kept swinging the rod brutally at Oliver, leaving him bloodied in no time. Yet, she wasn't satisfied and ordered her men to pin Oliver's hands down to the table, hysterically shouting, "Someone bring a hammer." Oliver's face turned as white as a sheet, as he desperately begged, "No, Auntie, I know I was wrong. Please spare me. I won't do it again." But in response, Mandy just let out a cold, savage laugh. "Anyone who's ever hurt Vincent, I'll repay them 100-fold. Oliver, brace yourself. Tonight is going to be long." All night, Oliver's screams echoed around the villa. True to her word, Mandy made sure anyone who hurt Vincent paid dearly, and her treatment of Oliver was ruthless and inhumane. Oliver's betrayal had resulted in Vincent's fingers being shattered, so she smashed all 10 of Oliver's fingers and toes, making him a complete wreck. She didn't stop there. She yanked out every tooth from his mouth and then sewed his lying mouth shut with a steel needle. Vincent's pain from that night, she returned tenfold to Oliver. By the end, Oliver was so tortured, he couldn't even cry out in pain. With a cold glance, Mandy ordered in a chilling tone, "Lock him in the dungeon, and keep a close watch. Don't let him die. Once I find Vincent, I'll deal with him slowly." "Yes, ma'am." The guards responded respectfully and dragged Oliver to the dungeon. After dealing with Oliver, all Mandy could think about was Vincent. She needed to find him immediately and explain everything. She was a victim too, completely unaware of it all that night. Without any hesitation, Mandy ordered her people to begin a full-scale search for Vincent's whereabouts. "I don't care how you do it. Find Vincent within 3 days," Mandy declared sharply. "I'm running out of patience, and you know the consequences if you fail." But in their search for Vincent, Mandy's team hit one dead end after another. Because all information on Vincent had been wiped clean by the military, they couldn't find any leads to trace him. 3 days later, Mandy's team had nothing, and she ranted angrily, giving them a harsh whipping. But no matter how brutal Mandy's punishments were, they were at a loss. Vincent just couldn't be found. Stumped, Mandy suddenly recalled that the person who delivered the documents that day was a Special Forces soldier. How did Vincent get involved with Special Forces? Vincent was just from a regular wealthy family, with no ties to the military. So why would a Special Forces soldier deliver documents for Vincent? Driven by suspicion, Mandy launched an investigation. Her family did have some connections within the military. Military information is the hardest to obtain. Fortunately, Mandy's power and influence were substantial. Though it took some effort, Mandy eventually discovered that Vincent had joined a top-secret state-sanctioned research project, with the research base located in the Atlantic Ocean. Without a moment's hesitation, Mandy flew to the Atlantic. The research project Vincent was part of involved national secrets, so getting into the base wasn't something just anyone could do. However, they owned a pharmaceutical company that collaborated with the military. Plus, Mandy had relatives in the military, so after pulling some strings, she entered the Atlantic Ocean Pharmaceutical Research Base as an advisor. Meanwhile, Vincent was leading a research team, extracting medication from a freshly caught octopus. The drug they were developing was linked to marine life, which is why the base was in the Atlantic. An octopus has incredible regenerative abilities. Its limbs can grow back endlessly after being severed, Vincent explained. "Our task is to extract this regenerative factor from the octopus tentacles and develop it into a drug. Once successful, it would mark a revolutionary leap in the field of medicine." Vincent used to be a key player in tech. He knew high-end medical equipment like the back of his hand. Plus, he was great at using it to extract drug compounds. But before heading to the base, Mandy smashed his fingers with a hammer. All 5 fingers on his right hand were crushed. When Vincent got to the base, the military got the top doctors to operate on him right away. But with such bad breaks, his right hand was permanently damaged. He couldn't handle equipment anymore. So, he switched to focusing on theoretical research and also started teaching other team members how to work the equipment. Mandy showed up when Vincent was in the lab. He was guiding a grad student on extracting drug compounds. "Vincent, I finally found you." Mandy ran over and hugged him, thrilled. "You have no idea how crazy I've been going without you." Vincent froze up. It was beyond him that Mandy was there in a secret military base on the Atlantic. This place didn't even show up on satellite maps. And he was part of a top-secret project. How the heck did Mandy find him? He had decided long ago to never see Mandy again. But here she was. Vincent was conflicted big time. He pushed Mandy away, not wanting any contact. "Mandy, we're divorced. Keep your distance." Seeing Vincent's cold eyes, Mandy's heart hurt. She said in a shaky voice, "Vincent, I know you're mad, but I didn't mean to that night. I didn't know it was you who got dragged in. I'm a victim too. Oliver tricked me. He wanted us to fall out, and if we do, he wins." Vincent just gave a sad smile. "Hasn't Oliver already won? He got you, and you two even got married abroad." Mandy froze. Shocked, she said, You know? "Yeah, I crashed your wedding." Vincent smirked. "I didn't bring cash, so no gift from me." Mandy could barely breathe for a moment. She opened her mouth. "Vincent, let me explain. It's not what you think. I had my reasons." Vincent had no interest in hearing excuses now. He cut her off. "Reasons? Please, Mandy, don't try to fool me with that nonsense. You left when I was disabled for 2 years. But why? To find a cure. I braved the desert, facing quicksand and storms with the team, risking everything because I wanted to heal you. I hoped so hard that we'd succeed. And you? While I was risking life for you, you shacked up with my nephew. You've been with Oliver behind my back for 3 years, even got married abroad using work trips as a cover. Mandy, which of these actions can be justified as having reasons? You couldn't keep yourself in check. Vincent's words cut deep, stabbing at Mandy's heart. Mandy was in so much pain. She could hardly breathe, but she tried to explain. No, Vincent, I love you. I never wanted to hurt you. Getting with Oliver was a mistake. You were gone, I was bedridden, miserable. I couldn't deal with it all and turned to booze. Without you, I drank every day. With Oliver, I wasn't in my right mind. I was drunk, thought he was you. Vincent, please believe me. I never loved Oliver. He's just a kid to me. I cussed him out, told him to leave. But he didn't, he took advantage of the situation. I swear it was all a mix-up. I loved you, no one else. Oliver just reminded me of you when I was drunk because I missed you so much. You're my only love. Oliver can't even compare. Despite Mandy's heartfelt words, Vincent remained cold and unmoved. He looked Mandy in the eyes. Stop acting like a victim. Maybe you can pretend the first time was a mistake, but what about the second, third, and countless other times? 3 years. Over 1,000 days. Any single moment you could have ended it and saved us. But you didn't. You kept it up and even married Oliver abroad. How can you come here and ask for forgiveness? In 3 years, Mandy had countless chances to end her affair with Oliver. But he didn't. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. She arrogantly thought she could get away with it forever and that Vincent would never find out. But how can you keep everything hidden in this world? Lies will eventually come to light. People who let you down don't deserve forgiveness. Mandy, I don't want to hear any more of your excuses or see you again. Vincent took a deep breath and pointed at the door. Please leave right now, or I'll call the military to make you leave by force. Mandy was unwilling to go. She clung to Vincent's wrist like her life depended on it, her eyes wild with obsession. Vincent, I'm not leaving. You are my life. Unless I die, I won't separate from you. I know you're angry, but how could our years together be defeated by Oliver? Besides, I didn't marry Oliver out of love. It was out of obligation. Oliver is just a kid. Even though I was drunk, we had relations. It was his first time, and I felt I had to take responsibility. But I don't love him at all. You're the only one I've ever loved, and Oliver means nothing to me. While speaking, Mandy pulled out her phone. To prove her indifference towards Oliver, she showed Vincent a video of her abusing Oliver that night. See, I already avenged you. Mandy's voice was tinged with madness. I told you, anyone who hurts you will pay tenfold, even if it's Oliver. I won't spare him. Seeing Oliver's miserable state in the video, Vincent felt a chill. He didn't expect Mandy to be so cruel to Oliver. He found Mandy terrifying. She once adored Oliver, treating him like a king. But now, her affection gone, she could mercilessly turn him to ruin. While Oliver brought it upon himself, Vincent felt no sympathy for him. But Mandy's rapid change was shocking. A crazy woman like her could do anything. I was wrong before. I'm sorry. Mandy pleaded, clutching Vincent's hand. You can hit me or yell at me, but please, don't leave me. You are my life. I can't live without you. Vincent closed his eyes, hiding his fatigue. It's too late. There's no turning back for us. After that torturous night, I feel nothing but hatred and fear for you. With those words, Vincent was exhausted. He couldn't continue this. So he pressed the alarm button, summoning special forces stationed at the base. The project Vincent worked on was a military endeavor. Armed soldiers guarded every corner, though Mandy had clout outside. Here she had to follow rules. Otherwise, this base in international waters meant that under the law, killings weren't considered a crime. Anyone causing trouble at a military base risked getting shot, and the body could be shark food. After Vincent pressed the alarm, armed soldiers rushed in. What's going on? I suspect there's an enemy spy at the base. Vincent said coldly, glancing at Mandy with disdain. She isn't an advisor. I don't know her real identity, but I'm certain she knows nothing about high-end drug research. I suspect she's an enemy spy. You should take her for questioning. Mandy's advisor identity was a facade. Only top military knew her true role. The soldiers had no clue who she was. So Vincent's claim raised their guard. The soldiers aimed their guns at Mandy. Hands up, don't move. Mandy was shocked Vincent would accuse her of espionage to get rid of her. She had indeed hidden her identity. Being taken would expose her. Vincent, do you hate me that much? Mandy looked at him sadly. You'd accuse me of being a spy just to avoid me? Vincent looked away, not wanting another glance at Mandy. I don't know you. Don't pretend we're connected. His coldness hurt Mandy deeply. She forced a bitter smile. You're cruel, but I love you despite it. I won't let you go. Even if you hate me, I want you in my life. As she spoke, she undid her coat, revealing explosives strapped to her body. Instantly, the entire base went on high alert. Researchers scattered, and soldiers donned armor and shields, bracing at the front. I don't care about your motives. Put down the weapon and surrender now. The base chief demanded sternly. You're surrounded and can't escape. Mandy laughed in response. Maybe not. This is indoors. Your snipers can't get a shot. From where I stand, I see your soldiers. If anyone makes a move on me, I'll hit the detonator. We'll all go down together. Hearing this, the chief went pale. Mandy was right. Indoors meant no snipers. Soldiers had guns, but any action would alert her. Even armed, they couldn't risk making any moves. No one could guarantee they'd stop her in time. Let's talk about your terms. After a moment of thinking, the base leader looked at Mandy with a grim face and said, I know you're not a spy from an enemy nation. You don't need to sacrifice yourself and drag us to hell with you. Finally, someone gets it. Mandy smirked. Right, I'm not interested in what your base is researching. I just want to take Vincent with me. As long as Vincent leaves with me, I'll take off the explosives. No one will get hurt. In an instant, all eyes were on Vincent. Vincent looked a bit upset. He glared at Mandy with fury and said through clenched teeth, Mandy, you're shameless, threatening me with the lives of everyone here. Vincent, I only did this because I love you so much, Mandy said, clutching her heart. For me, if I can't be with you, I'd rather die. Vincent's expression grew even darker. What Mandy did was despicable, but it worked. Vincent was too kind to just watch Mandy detonate explosives and kill everyone. So he reluctantly agreed to Mandy's terms. Fine. Mandy, I'll go with you. As soon as he said it, Mandy's face lit up with life. Excitedly, she said, Vincent, I knew you couldn't leave me behind. Don't worry. I'll stay with you forever. I will never betray you again. You're everything to me, and I'll devote all of myself to you. With that, Mandy called her crew to get a helicopter to pick them up. Soon, a helicopter arrived. With nowhere to land at the base, it hovered above. Mandy's crew threw down a ladder, and she climbed up with Vincent, holding his hand tightly, never letting go. It was as if she was afraid that the moment she loosened her grip, Vincent would vanish in front of her. Vincent shot a cold glance at Mandy and casually remarked, Mandy, I'm already in the helicopter with you. Aren't you going to remove those explosives? Hearing this, Mandy chuckled. Vincent, did I scare you? Don't worry. I'll take the explosives off now. I won't hurt you. I just can't stand you leaving me. As long as you stay by my side, I won't lose it or do crazy things. As she spoke, Mandy began to remove the explosives. With one hand, it was a bit awkward, so she let go of Vincent. Vincent took the chance while she was busy with the explosives, pulled open the helicopter door and said, Mandy, I'd rather die than go back to you. With a sneer, he jumped out without hesitation. Seeing the determination in Vincent's eyes and his decisive leap, Mandy was on the verge of breaking down. Without any hesitation, she jumped out too, screaming in the air, Vincent, I won't let you leave me. If we die, we'll die together. As they fell, both plunged into the ocean. Luckily, the helicopter had life rafts. Mandy's crew quickly inflated one, jumped down, and rescued them. Vincent was brought back to the villa that felt like a cage. After so many intense moments, Mandy's mental state was unstable. She became more insecure, afraid that if she blinked, Vincent would disappear. So, she canceled all her work commitments to stay by Vincent's side every moment. Even at night, she couldn't relax, fearing Vincent would escape while she slept. To prevent Vincent from running away, she had a handcuff made, with one end on Vincent's right hand and the other on Mandy's left. "This way, you can't leave me," Mandy said almost insanely. "Vincent, bear with it. At first, it might feel strange, but you'll get used to it over time." Vincent's lips curled with a mocking smile. "Get used to it? Of course I have, since you've already crippled my right hand. Even if you don't chain me, it's not like I can move it." His words were like 1,000 needles stabbing Mandy's heart. She was almost breathless from the pain. "Vincent, I'm sorry," Mandy choked. "I know no amount of apologies can make up for hurting you. But I'll do anything to earn your forgiveness." After speaking, it seemed like Mandy made a major decision. She ordered her crew to bring a hammer. "Vincent," I said, "I won't spare anyone who has hurt you," Mandy said with a cold face. "Even if the one who hurt you is myself, I won't let that slide. I didn't know it was you that was brought here back then. But I take responsibility for your hand being crippled. If I broke 5 of your fingers, then I'll return the favor. My left hand is tied to your right. If yours is disabled, mine should be too." As Mandy spoke, she placed her left hand on the table. Then, gritting her teeth and steeling herself, she smashed it with the hammer. A gut-wrenching scream sounded as her left hand's pinky was reduced to a bloody mess. "Vincent, as long as I can make you calm down, I'll take any punishment you give me," Mandy said through gritted teeth. "The pain I once inflicted on you, you can get back at me tenfold." After saying this, Mandy swung the hammer again, hitting harder with the second blow. Sweat covered her forehead from the pain. She gritted her teeth, sweat dripping, and said, "Vincent, we're one. From now on, I'm your right hand, and you're mine. Let's never be apart, okay?" But Vincent didn't even glance at her. No matter how much she tortured herself, he wouldn't forgive her or give her any reaction. At that moment, Mandy felt her heartache was worse than the pain of crushing her fingers. Still, she forced a smile. "It's okay. Vincent, you don't have to forgive me now. I'll spend my life making it up to you." Then Mandy struck a 3rd time with the hammer. Then the 4th, the 5th, and her whole left hand was ruined. Blood covered the table. Seeing this, Vincent finally looked at Mandy. "Mandy, do you think this is enough? Don't forget what else you did that night." Mandy's breath stopped. She didn't need Vincent to remind her. She remembered clearly what else happened that night. She ordered someone to perform surgery on the man she loved most. That night, when Vincent was brought to the lab, his lower body was severely injured. There were doctors stationed at the Atlantic base, but Vincent's injuries were too serious. They didn't dare operate. The base's head had to urgently contact the military to get the best military doctors to help Vincent. The military doctor saw Vincent's mangled lower body and gasped in shock. Even now, more than 3 months later, Vincent's body hadn't healed. How could he ever forgive Mandy? Though Mandy didn't know at the time, she had become his eternal nightmare. Every time he saw her, he'd think of that night. His body couldn't stop trembling. They were beyond reconciliation. Mandy knew she'd hurt Vincent too deeply. Breaking her fingers was nothing. Even breaking every bone in her body wouldn't win his forgiveness. "Vincent, don't be like this. Give me another chance," Mandy pleaded in pain. "If I have to be fair, I should use this hammer and shatter my own lower body. Vincent, how about this? Every night I'll order my men to whip me 99 times with a spiked whip. Before the whipping, I'll inject myself with a drug to amplify my senses. If that's not enough, you can whip me yourself or hit me with an iron bar. Anything that eases your anger." But Vincent just turned his face away coldly. "I'm not interested in torturing you. I just want to leave you forever." His words pierced Mandy's heart. But even through the pain, she still wished to hold Vincent tightly, unwilling to let go. "Vincent, I know you're angry and it's okay. I understand. I'll slowly earn your forgiveness." Mandy smiled, deceiving herself. For the whole month that followed, Mandy followed through. Every night she'd order her men to whip her with a spiked whip, covering her in blood and bruises. Oliver in the basement also took the 99 lashes each day. Afterward, doctors would immediately tend to him, leaving him in a state between life and death. But no matter how much Mandy repented, Vincent remained unmoved. Initially, Vincent would at least speak to Mandy, even if it was just sarcastic remarks. But after the first day, he stopped talking altogether. No matter how much Mandy repented, Vincent kept a cold expression and didn't respond at all. "Vincent, please don't treat me like this. Talk to me, say anything, even if you just curse at me." Mandy was nearing a breakdown. Faced with Mandy's desperate pleas, Vincent coldly replied with 4 words. "Let me leave." "It's not happening, Vincent. Unless I die, I'll never let you go," Mandy said without hesitation. So Vincent turned his face away again, saying nothing. He worked hard to block everything out, not looking, listening, or thinking about Mandy. To him, she didn't exist. Whatever she said or did, he neither cared nor was interested. Mandy tried everything to appease Vincent. She bought the finest jewelry in the world for him, cooked his favorite dishes, and took him on trips to relax. But no matter what she did, Vincent remained silent, not even sparing Mandy a glance. It was like overnight he'd turned into a lifeless puppet, unable to cry, smile, or talk. As time passed, Mandy frequently felt that although Vincent was right there, she just couldn't grasp him. After a few more months of mutual suffering, Mandy finally couldn't take it anymore. "Vincent, do you hate me that much?" Mandy broke down. "I've turned myself into this, neither human nor ghost, and you still won't look at me? I'm not even hoping for forgiveness anymore. I just wish for a chance to make it up to you. Isn't that possible?" Yet, even with Mandy's hysterical outcry, Vincent only coldly responded with 4 words. "Let me leave." "No way. Absolutely no way." Mandy was nearly driven insane by Vincent's indifferent attitude. Panting heavily, she screamed with a voice almost bleeding out, "Vincent, I told you, unless I'm dead, don't think you can escape from me." Vincent looked away, turning back into that puppet who wouldn't cry, smile, or speak. Even with Mandy right in front of him, he coldly kept her out of his world. He wouldn't talk to her, wouldn't even glance at her. Mandy felt her heart bleeding. She grabbed Vincent's chin, forcing him to look at her. "Vincent, is it only if I die that you could forgive me?" Vincent stared coldly at Mandy. They had been torturing each other like this for over half a year, and Vincent was tired. If death could free him from Mandy, he was willing to try. So Vincent smiled. He stared hard at Mandy and said coldly, "Mandy, let's play a game." It was the first time in over half a year that Vincent had smiled at Mandy. She was stunned. At that moment, she would do anything for Vincent. Even if he wanted her life, she'd give it. "All right." Mandy eagerly agreed. "Vincent, what game do you want to play?" "Whatever you want, I'll play with you." "Let's gamble with our lives," Vincent said softly. "Mandy, I can't forgive you, so I'll leave it to fate. Let's play Russian roulette. 6 chambers, 3 bullets. We'll take turns pointing the gun at each other's heads. If by the end neither of us is dead, then it means fate has forgiven you, and I will follow its will and forgive you one last time. But if one of us dies, the game's over and we're both free." Hearing this, Mandy immediately held Vincent's hand, confessing passionately, "Vincent, if you die, I'll pull the trigger without hesitation and follow you to the other world." However, this passionate confession did not move Vincent. He remained indifferent. "Mandy, if you die, I won't die with you. I'll completely forget you and live well." Mandy's heart ached again, but she said nothing because she knew she had no right to ask Vincent to die with her. This game of Russian roulette was incredibly dangerous. With 6 chambers and 3 bullets, the chance of death was almost 50%. But Mandy agreed because she knew this might be her only chance for Vincent to forgive her. So Mandy ordered her people to bring the gun. "Vincent, I love you. I can't bear to let you risk getting shot in the head and gamble your life with me," Mandy said, holding the gun. "So there's no need for one each. I'll fire 3 times myself. If in the end, I'm still alive, it means the whole universe is asking you to forgive me. You mustn't defy the universe. You must forgive me." Hearing this, Vincent lowered his eyes and gently said, "Okay." Yet in his heart he thought, if after 3 shots, Mandy is still miraculously alive, I'll take the gun and end my own life. Because right now, I don't want to be with Mandy anymore. Mandy didn't know Vincent's thoughts. She took a deep breath, picked up the Russian revolver, and aimed it at her head. Vincent, I love you, Mandy confessed with a smile, gazing into Vincent's bright eyes. With that, she pulled the trigger. A loud bang, it was a blank. A smile crept onto Mandy's face. Vincent, 2 more shots. I believe my love for you can conquer everything. Saying this, she pulled the trigger again. Another blank, and Mandy was unharmed. Vincent, only 1 shot left, Mandy said, looking at Vincent with deep affection. I love you, so let love protect me. Following that, Mandy fired the 3rd shot. The bullet flew out, blood splattered everywhere. Betrayed by love, Mandy wasn't protected by any god of love. Seeing Mandy's body lying in the pool of blood, Vincent's eyes couldn't help but well up. After all, they had once loved each other so passionately. Now, parting by death, how could he be unmoved? Mandy, this is a forever goodbye, Vincent said, taking the handcuff key from her body. He unlocked his handcuffs and left with large strides. Now he was truly free. He would live well as he had promised earlier. Later, Vincent returned to the Ocean Research Base, dedicating his life to science. He never married again. Matters of the heart were unresolvable. He didn't want to waste his life on the elusive thing called love. His life had room for more than just love. It had science and exploration.